Hey folks, we have here a Mark III trench knife. This one here is made by Ontario Knife Company. A bit of an interesting story. I was looking through a catalog one day, a knife catalog, and I saw this knife, and it immediately reminded me of a knife my dad had back when I was growing up. I seem to remember it. So, and it, from what I remember, I was younger. I remember him telling me he used it when he was in the Korean War. So I ordered the knife and got it, and it's not quite. I don't think it's the same knife. I remember his having a blood groove, which I had kind of forgotten about. I completely forgotten about the knife. Like I said, until I had been looking through the catalog. So last weekend, my parents and I and my family went back to their old house. They're from from a small town, and due to employment reasons, they had to move closer to me. So they had to leave their house. They had to abandon it, which is unfortunate. But not to get into all that. So anyway, the house is sitting there empty. We went back. I went looking for the knife. I remember exactly where he had it. He kept it in a garage tucked behind his workbench. So we went back to look for it, couldn't find it, and we believe that the knife was probably given away. They had a large garage sale where a lot of his old tools a lot of stuff was just put in boxes, and my mom just sold everything, and believe it might have got mixed in with that. So kind of disappointed. I was kind of hoping to find the knife, but we didn't. So, but anyway, I got this knife here in the mail. Not quite the same knife, but I still like this knife, even though I don't believe it's the one he had. I remember his had a stainless, like I said, I think it was a stainless blade and a blood groove. So, if any of y'all out there know anything about fighting knives, if you guys know what that could possibly be, other than the stainless blade and the blood groove, it looked, from what I remember, to be the exact same knife. Even the same sheath. So anyway, this knife here has a leather ring handle. The blade is 1095 carbon steel. It's 0.185 inches thick. The blade is 6.75 inches long, and the overall length is 11.75 inches. It's got a zinc phosphate finish, and the sheath is natural leather with brass rivets and a leather leg tie. So this knife here, it's not as... I found another knife I liked from Boker. This knife here is not quite as pretty as that one. But I decided on this one because this one is made in the USA, which I have nothing against foreign-made knives, if they're nice knives, but I just kind of feel with US fighting knives to buy from the US with those knives. The Boker, unfortunately, was made in China. And nothing, not to get into politics, but nothing personal against the Chinese. I have nothing against the Chinese people, but I'm not going to support a government that is building up a military to fight us. And I also don't like supporting a communist government. So, with that said, I did decide on this knife. On the blade, I don't know if you can make that out. It says US M3 Ontario 1943. So this knife here, it's not as durable as a K-bar, probably not as good of a general purpose knife as the K-bar. It's not heavy duty. It's very solid. Definitely no loose parts. The handle here is thick enough. You could probably use it as a hammer if you wanted to, for simple tasks. The blade on it's pretty sharp. I did put a little bit of more of an edge on it. This knife here is a little bit more crudely made than some of the other knives I've seen, than like my K-bar, for example. But from what I understand, these knives here, back in the day in World War II, they were made fairly crudely and quickly, and just kind of meant to get into the hands of the troops. So I don't know. I think it's a pretty interesting knife, though. It's, you know, even though, like I said, it's not as a heavy-duty multi-purpose knife as the K-Bar. I mostly bought it as a collector's piece more than anything else. Although it would make a good defensive knife. It does have this partial blade here is sharpened, so you know it's one of those things you would have to be careful depending on, you know, how you carry it, you know, so you don't cut yourself or whatever. So, but in all, you know, like I said, this is a little bit more crudely made of a knife. However, it is still very well made, and it feels like it's going to be a very durable knife. It just doesn't have, you know, the fine finish, as you might say, as some other knives. But overall, I'm happy with the purchase. I think I paid around $53, somewhere around in there. So, but I'm gonna enjoy, you know, adding it to my collection and using it on occasion. So, Semper Fi.